Welcome to First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast. I'm your host, James Gardner, certified athletic therapist, certified strength and conditioning specialist, yoga instructor, human being. This platform, for the pros, by the pros, anybody in the performance space, and beyond. Welcome here to share in the stories of professionals, experiences, journeys, learning along the way. It's a platform to connect, to network, and to be a part of a community that cares, with conversations that matter, experiences that resonate, and generate ideas, thought-provoking, organic dialogue, passionate prose. Brought to you as always by First Star Therapy, Mobility Tape, Epic, and Benchmark Athletics. In association with the Canadian Athletic Therapists Association. It's First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast. Thanks for being here. Thank you for being a part of it. That makes it official. Here we go, live. Session 77, Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast, brought to you as always by First Star Therapy. Our primary sponsor, Mobility Tape, the only heat-activated kinesiology tape on the market. Epic, that's EPOCH, Benchmark Athletics, and in association with the Canadian Athletic Therapy Association. Big one tonight, session 77 with Mahyar Dibaji and Thomas Nicholls, our co-guests. An amazing project, a couple guys that I had the opportunity to learn from when they were students at York and guide a little bit, hopefully in the right direction in some elements through their career as they were going through school, and now colleagues, and humbled and grateful for them both to be here this evening. For everybody listening live, as always, thank you. This is what it's all about: connecting, staying connected, getting further connected, and growing from within. So a little bit of housekeeping before we get going. It is National Athletic Therapy Month in June, and just as a celebration of that, a couple notes and a couple things specific to the athletic therapy profession before we jump into Mahyar and Thomas's bios and get into that story. So here we are in Ontario. So for all Ontario athletic therapists out there, the OATA board has announced a save the date, June 26th, 2021, for the AMM, the annual members meeting. They've also announced that they will be having a series of town hall meetings where all members' voices can be heard. This platform, Let's Chat, as always, serves as a vehicle to educate and to inform. This is our opportunity here in Ontario to do just that: get educated, get informed, get off the sidelines and into the game. We all need some positivity, and in the aims of listening and being heard, we have an opportunity to be transparent, to collaborate, and to unite this profession openly through the AMM and the town halls. The pandemic has challenged and impacted all of us across the country. The OATA is a member-based association with a member-elected board, and therefore all member input should be valued and will be considered. So that is June 26th. Everybody who is a member of the OATA is welcome to join and encouraged to do so to get up to date on what is happening here in Ontario. Elsewhere, Justin Jung and the ATABC are providing an equity, diversity, and inclusion webinar this Wednesday for members in British Columbia. On that note, if you're a member of another provincial chapter and want to get events out there, please reach out by email, consult@firststartherapy.com, or through our new home on Instagram, letschat.at. That's at letschat.at. And one more before we get going, some big events in the past couple of weeks for therapists, and regardless of title or certification or anything like that, the professionals on the sidelines do not get enough credit in the moments that they're not rushing onto the field in an emergency, but also for the moments that they do have to do that. A couple weeks ago, John Tavares was hurt on the ice here in Toronto against Montreal in the playoffs. Jake Evans recently against Winnipeg. And then yesterday, Christian Eriksen collapsed with a sudden cardiac arrest playing for Denmark on the biggest stage in soccer in the last, I don't know how long, at the Euro Cup. Thankfully, all are okay and all will return to life as normal and hopefully sport as normal as well. But in doing so, it brought that to light for me. So I'm just going to hit play on a video here before we get into our guests. Appreciate you sticking with me on this. And for anybody who's seen this video, please watch it again. For anybody who hasn't seen this video, appreciate you paying attention. And for those picking up my podcast, I'll hope that the audio kicks through here. So just give me a second to load this thing up, and away we go. I'm going to share sound and press play. Another example on the big stage again today of the critical need for emergency response personnel and expert training for those that are responsible for the well-being of athletes. Christian Eriksen collapsed while playing for Denmark at the Euro Cup today. A couple of weeks ago, John Tavares was injured in a contact injury on the ice for the Toronto Maple Leafs. The response team there of Paul Ayat and the Toronto Maple Leafs and Montreal Canadiens staff was impeccable. Today's response at the Euro Cup by those officials, outstanding. Immediate care, CPR, defibrillator, creating a professional surrounding of calm and care in a time of need. If you're an athlete, if you're a coach, if you're a therapist, if you're a parent, this is critical to ensure that sideline care is not undermined, is not an afterthought. This is a reminder today that this can happen anywhere, to anyone. One of the top athletes in the world playing for Denmark collapsed out of nowhere. This could be your child, this could be a cousin, a brother, a sister. This could be anybody. So the next time you're at a sporting event and there isn't coverage on the sideline of somebody who has emergency care, first responder credentials, make sure somebody hears about it. Appreciate you sticking with me through that. I hope the sound came through okay and the video for those that are here live. A big message and a big time to showcase just how important this is. And we're leaned on heavily in this practice. We don't all have to answer those emergency bells when they ring. We don't all get exposed to that. But when we do, there's a lot that goes into that. And that's seen in that soccer game the other day, just absolutely flooring for a lot of people. And there's a lot of debate on should the cameras have stayed on it or not, and throw that away. The response of that team was absolutely impeccable. And each one of us here on this call tonight, fully trained, fully invested as an athletic therapist in being a first responder, in operationalizing an emergency action plan, if not taking the action directly into our own hands. And I think that's a big piece. And the video summarized it, the audio kind of summarized all of those pieces, but not to set a dark mood. In fact, quite the opposite. This is a celebration of this profession and of the collaboration of what this profession is amongst other personnel: physiotherapist, chiropractor, medical, doctor, orthopedic surgeon, RMT, whatever your title is. If you're attending a sideline event, this is a potential outcome. And not having care there is unacceptable. At the amateur level, at the pro level, this is just another opportunity to make an impact. So if you're out there and you serve this role, make sure that people know. That's it. Let's roll into this one tonight. I really appreciate those extra few minutes, guys, and for everybody listening live and on the podcast. These are important topics. These are things that, as part of our profession, I think don't get enough time. They don't get enough credit. It's getting informed, it's getting educated, it's being a part of the AMM here in Ontario, it's getting into webinars put on by the ATABC, and it's showcasing what it is that we do. Not to put ourselves up against anybody else, but to showcase truly what this profession is. Our guest tonight, session 77, Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast, Mahyar Dibaji and Thomas Nicholls. Mahyar is a graduate of the athletic therapy program at York University and holds his BSc in kinesiology. After graduation, he became the assistant athletic therapist for the Hamilton Tiger Cats football club of the CFL. In addition to his experience in the CFL working with professional athletes, Mahyar has worked with the National Ballet of Canada Company, Wrestling Canada, multiple varsity and collegiate sports teams, and the Toronto FC Juniors. His inspiration is to help patients reach their personal goals by providing education to individuals about their own bodies so that they can be empowered to live a healthy lifestyle. Thomas Nicholls is a certified athletic therapist who also graduated with a Bachelor of Kinesiology and an athletic therapy certificate from York University. During his schooling, he gained experience with a wide variety of sports, including volleyball, field hockey, rugby, and lacrosse. In his final year, he was placed at the National Ballet of Canada and with the Canadian Wheelchair Rugby team. After successfully completing his CATA certification exam, he began working in a multidisciplinary clinic in Toronto. Thomas remained involved in the wheelchair rugby team from his days as a student and is now the assistant therapist for the senior national team and the head therapist for the Next Gen program. After gaining some experience in the private field, he was offered an opportunity to return to York and help out in the Gorman Shore Sport Injury Clinic in a research coordinator and student supervisor role. The current global health situation put a halt to that role, at least temporarily, but has afforded the opportunity for these two gentlemen to reconnect, creating their passion project, Healing Kinetics. Thomas, Mahyar, appreciate it again for sticking through those first few minutes. Critical, but thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being here. We'll go back and forth, but you can unmute yourselves and just say hello, and let's get into this thing, and we'll take it wherever you want to take it.
Oh man, James, thank you so much for having us, man. This is awesome. Like I said, this is a cool opportunity. You've been definitely, I think I could speak on Thomas's behalf too, that you're a great role model for us as students. So it's awesome to be here. Thanks again.
Yeah, I'll second Maui's thoughts there, because really you helped us throughout university as a supervisor and as a role model, and kind of speaking to what you were talking about earlier with the emergency situations on the sideline. You were there for one of our first emergency type scenarios with the rugby team, and you really kind of helped ground us and settle down and really think things through. And I think that really helped me personally, and it also helped Maui and I as a team kind of feel more comfortable. So really, really appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate the kind words. This one's about you guys, and this is about us, and this is about our profession. You've come together on a project. I don't want to jump right into that. Thomas, with Wheelchair Rugby, I think that's amazing. Working with those athletes, those high-level athletes, we call them differently abled, or whatever we're going to talk about. One of our past guests, Anthony Liu, went from able-bodied to disabled and is now challenging to make the Paralympics, and absolutely phenomenal. I think we can get a panel together and have on here you working in that realm as a therapist, him being an athlete in that realm, and we're working towards something like that in the future as well. But what was that experience like for you? What sort of challenges or interest in terms of going to that way after working, the varsity setting and National Ballet? What took you to wheelchair rugby?
So actually, in first year university, one of the professors in the kinesiology program showed the movie documentary called Murder Ball, which was based on the American wheelchair rugby team and also featured the Canadian team heavily. So that's kind of when I gained some interest and was intrigued in the sport. And it wasn't until my final year of school that there was a placement opportunity that came up. So that was, I interviewed for it and was lucky to get it. And yeah, I would say that the challenges and the differences between able-bodied and para sports was more in the sensory department. So with our assessments, we typically rely a lot on palpation skills and feedback from the patient or the athlete. Mm-hmm. And I found that palpating people that don't feel what you're doing, or trying to treat people that have no feedback for you is pretty intimidating at first. And it's kind of something that's different for each athlete. And you got to get to know them, because each injury is different and the level of injury is different. And we have cervical spinal injured athletes, as well as athletes that are quadriplegic through amputation. So I think that really that was the big learning curve, is that these people are more different than we expected to treat. So it's, yeah, I would say that was the biggest adjustment.
Yeah, and some amazing points right off the bat, and some amazing takeaways for some of our younger listeners, or for anybody, to be quite honest. Um, Intimidating at first, and now here you are, assistant therapist and leading the next gen program. Amazing to see. Really, really proud to see you continue to grow and continue to develop in this profession, and to be on here to share this with everybody as well. Not just because it's York and York all the way through here with this conversation tonight, but it takes a lot to stick with this profession. It takes a lot to find a niche. It takes a lot to be intimidated at first and stick with it and know that that's where growth happens. And the second part to that, each athlete is an individual unto themselves. And I think, if nothing else, that lesson is one that can't be taught in a book, with studying, with memorization. It comes down to working with human beings, and some great points right off the hop, and already making plenty of notes here. Continue to learn. I think that's one that sticks to the board and never falls off. Mahyar, over to you. I know you just returned from some international travel. Social media showed you and one of my favorite athletes, Alexandria Town, who won a silver medal over in Guatemala. You traveled. How did that trip go, and how was working in wrestling? It's relatively new for you, right, in terms of Wrestling Canada. Just maybe dabble in that trip and how it went.
Oh man, yeah, it was definitely during this time. It was when in Toronto it was all right, but when we got to New York, I was just like, took me an hour or so to just kind of like, I hadn't seen this many people in one place for I think a year and a bit, and it took me a second. But safe travels. Everyone came back safely, which was awesome. And yeah, it was my first experience, and wow, what an experience! It was really cool. In the national level, how everyone's kind of coming together, like the medical staff, everyone's so friendly. There's no sense of like competition just because we're on different teams. It's everyone together trying to just everyone working and kind of performing well and making sure everyone's all right, kind of. And it was awesome. And the athletes, wonderful, so professional. I learned so much. It was such a great learning experience. And yeah, very cool, very cool. Like Thomas said, at first I was like, okay, new setting, and take a moment, and as you always say, breathe and go ahead. And it was awesome. It was nothing but good things.
Yeah, absolutely. And a great share. I'm glad that you got to experience that. I'm happy Alex performed well for the first time. And you said it, man, this weekend was like, holy cow, there's lineups out the every store around here. And it's like, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do here. Like it's to navigate that. And then you go and you're taking care of athletes and putting yourself out there, and you're primed and ready. And not sure if you had a chance to watch, these big stages are, I don't know. I mean, they're happening at such fast tempo and such large bodies, and so many millions of eyes and thousands currently, in stands, at least with soccer, not so much in the two hockey games mentioned at the beginning here. How critical is a plan, especially like you're going to Guatemala, you're working with a medical staff, right? And you're talking about people who have maybe never met before in person, and now you have to iron out what's my EAP, what is the plan, what's the thing that I'm responsible for, or how do we get on the same page? Maybe that's the easiest question to go with. Maybe you can touch on that, and then honestly, guys, I think we can go any number of ways here tonight. I'd love to get to your project. I want to showcase Healing Kinetics, but with that one, I think that's a big one with the current the current temperature, the current climate of things. And we had Dom Nicoletta and Kevin Elliott on as well from over in Latvia with Team Canada, and they had some interesting takes on this question as well. But how did you sort of align yourself? Was that one of the first meetings? How did that go?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, even before, like right when the opportunity came, that was like the second thing that came to my mind. I'm like, all right, so how does this all work? And for prep, kind of first getting to know everyone in terms of like coaching staff and who does what and what everyone's role is. That was number one for me. And then what are my responsibilities, as you mentioned, and then when we got there a couple of days before the tournament, so we got to see the venue, and I made it a point to kind of go around, look at everything, what's available to us. You know, usually there's a host doctor with all this, so kind of getting to know them and kind of seeing, I think in every country things are different, and what they have access to, and so that was definitely something new. I wasn't sure, so and again, making a point to, even with different teams, kind of introducing myself and seeing how I can help them and how they can help me, and making a point that if there is anything, you know, we made it a point to, you know, be available for one another and have a kind of back each other up. And then, yeah, in terms of just for the athletes themselves, making sure I'm available, they have my, you know, I try to introduce myself and get to know them as quick as possible. You know, it was a pretty short trip. So, you know, in terms of various things that could happen, you know, especially, let's say, for example, concussion, for example, behavioral change, that's one of the big signs. And how do I get to know them right off the bat, knowing, is that just their competitive drive, or is this something that they're not used to? So kind of getting to know people, that was a huge part too, individually, as you mentioned. And yeah, and again, just everything was really more on the go at times, but right before competition. But as competition started, we were ready to go. So
awesome. And getting to know people and getting to know what your role is, and finding a way to fit in, never an issue for you. Back to the days when you're at York, an amazing personality that fits so well with so many athletes, and I think you do such a nice job, and really proud, and again, humbled to have you on here, and proud to see your continual growth and seeing all the channels that you've created and are now involved in. Both of you have spoken to sort of timing of things and being lucky to get somewhere, and it's not all about luck. I hate to tell you, in reflecting back, you've set yourselves up very nicely, and I think that some of the younger listeners out there, I'll encourage you right now to reach out to Mahyar and to Thomas. They're relatively new in the game of athletic therapy, but wise beyond their years as professionals. Both lots of different opportunities, lots of experience. And Thomas, just one more for you as we get ready to transition over into your passion project here. But going through York and doing a kin degree there, and then, you know, doing your certificate there, and then boom, now you're going to work there again. What was that like? Was it thrilling? Was it challenging? Was it a bit intimidating as well? Or how did that one take off?
So
now be careful, because typically, you know, Britt and Right Brown is on. I think she's on here live right now. So careful with your answer.
Yeah, so she was actually part of my answer. So yeah, I went from graduating and then worked about just over a year in a private clinic, and got my hands on a lot of people because it was busy. So I learned a lot, and then actually went to your farewell party to say bye before you went to the Bahamas, and reconnected with Tracy at the clinic, and there was a space that was opening up. And I wasn't 100% sure if I was ready. To be honest, I thought that it may be a little bit quick, but when I got a little bit more details about what it entailed, I was excited to kind of help the students. And it was a little interesting at the beginning because the final year students, so the students that were in third year, were in fact in their first year when I was in the program. So I had to change that dynamic a little bit, but I like to think that I'm fairly approachable. So it was adapting that relationship, but still keeping those lines of respect in there. And it was a change, but I really enjoyed it, and I felt lucky to kind of influence or help some of the students going through the program. And I felt lucky to be there so quick. And
yeah, absolutely. And that opportunity to give back as well. I think when we can recognize that early on in our career, we see that, you know, some of us it took me a few years to navigate that, and that opportunity to give back to students and to be given what the students provide. Lots of energy, lots of challenge, lots of all of the goodness that is provided within these programs. And had an opportunity to be at York, had an opportunity now to be at Sheridan this last semester. And now there's only 6 more that I need to get in contact with, I guess, as we go across. But all joking aside, this is a great opportunity to share your project, your passion project that's taking flight now, Healing Kinetics. And so anybody who's out there in the social media world at Healing Kinetics, just the way it sounds and is spelled, tell us about that. Mahyar, maybe you can start, and then Thomas, we can go back and forth on wherever you guys want to take this. What is Healing Kinetics and where did it start?
Oh yeah, this is a great question. So Thomas and I, obviously we worked together at York through rugby, and it was an awesome dynamic. We had such a great time, and we were always bouncing ideas off each other in terms of therapy, in terms of different ideas. And it was just like a natural, I think, thing for us outside of school. We're like, we definitely got to do something. And this was dating back, I think, a couple of years, like 2 years or 3 years ago. And we actually sat down and we just started brainstorming, said, hey, man, let's think of all the different things we can do. And then a couple of years later, COVID hit, and I was like, hey, remember that time we sat down and talked? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, this is a good time, I think. And then we kind of connected and said, let's try the social media world. And one of the things we always appreciated was how athletic therapy was presented to us. And we loved the education aspect of it, and especially providing that to patients and athletes. And that was one of the things that was, I think, completely mutual between the two of us. And that's really what I think the root of Healing Kinetics is it's really trying to make sure people are empowered and feel control of their well-being. And if we can provide, not just through exercise, I mean, just even through anatomy and just getting to know your joints, getting to know your muscles, I think it goes a long way. And just knowing, even if you are already getting treated by someone, just knowing why you're doing what you're doing, right? And we're kind of trying to expand on that. And really, education is the biggest thing for us right now.
Absolutely, and no two better guys to put your heads together and chip away. You went through, you learned a lot of things. You probably learned a bunch of things not to do and how not to educate from this guy on this side of the microphone as well. Watch the curse words and make sure that the shirt is tucked into the khakis was a big one early on. But Thomas, as you take that where Mahyar started, it's a big project, education. So what's the driving force behind education?
So I think really the driving force behind it is trying to get people to understand why exercise is good, understanding the why behind the exercises or the stretches. That's kind of something big for the general public. Mm-hmm. I find that they're often told to do things, but not always told why they're doing them. And that's something that we like to communicate with everyone, including our patients. But another piece of the education is Maui and I both have worked with students in the AT program. He had them at the Hamilton Ticats as interns, and I was working with them at York University. And I really found that breaking things down into goals and into sections helped. And that's kind of how our platform is constructed. It's the first few posts are anatomy and injury related, and kind of getting to know the joint that we're talking about. And again, it doesn't cover anything. It doesn't cover everything. It's not all encompassing, but it's typical injuries and pretty common ones that we like to cover at the moment. And then we move on to stretching and mobility exercises for that particular joint, and breaking it down into those goals, and then moving on to strengthening. So really putting bite-sized pieces into people's hands and having them access it if they're interested. So that's kind of what we were looking into and really trying to develop as an easy way to find an answer on social media.
Yeah, and in the social media world and in a time through a pandemic, everybody and their sister are experts when it comes to workouts, when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to what weight you should put on the bar and what movement you should do as a human being that has whatever you have accessible to you. What I find really exciting about this is the nature in which you're going about doing this. The relevance comes down to the practitioner and the delivery and the connectedness between the both of you and whoever it is that is gaining this knowledge. Because I think going through channels of people, it doesn't necessarily, and I'll use the shirt off example because that's my go-to on this podcast, is like you don't have to take your shirt off and do everything upside down with a nice oil slick body to make it work. And I think the education piece is absolutely crucial, and to start from there and to go out into the general public, and then for those specialized needs as well, you have the expertise obviously through your bios and through your experience to date, that you can field those questions. Human kinetics being sort of a comprehensive discipline looking at human movement and exercise and its impact on physical performance, on well-being. We've seen the studies come out during COVID that those who move tend to not experience the deeper end of COVID and the virus and those types of things, just on an easy sort of access of what that article stated. Let me throw in maybe a philosophical question, Mahyar, and take it wherever you want to take it. This isn't a challenge, but we know exercise is good for us. We know that consistency is a big part of exercise in order for exercise to be good for us. Why do you think it's so difficult at times for patients and humans to adhere to that?
Oh, wow, nice. I think it's one of the things is habit, and I think that's our bodies sometimes like to go path of least resistance, right? And to challenge the body in a different way, or even sometimes it's just for a walk, 5 minutes, it could be a challenge. And I think that journey of trying to break a habit or challenging your body, maybe in the short term looking like it's not the path of least resistance, but in the long term it actually is, right? Not just for your muscles, but like your mind as well. And I think that's one of the big things. And also kind of going back to the core value of education is sometimes it's not knowing what to do, or a fear. I think sometimes it's fear of it's something new for some people, for a lot of individuals. And sometimes that fear can kind of stop someone from being consistent or even starting sometimes. I think those maybe a couple factors. I'm sure there's so many more, but those are, I think, one of the things that kind of pop up into my head. I think Thomas, if he wants to add to it, I think he loves the philosophy type questions too. So
Thomas, feel free to jump in. I think that this is, and not to put you on the spot, but this is so, again, this is so foundational, right? And it seems simple, but if we can get people to understand the value of movement, we can get people moving. So we need to continue to highlight this bottom piece in order to get people moving. And once they're moving, you can start to tap into mind and mind-body connection and consistency and habitual performance and the educational pieces. Thomas, take it anywhere you want to go if you have anything to add or want to take it in a completely different direction.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that that question kind of leads us towards the name that we picked as well. We picked healing kinetics because movement is healing, and it is a little bit of a complicated way of saying that, but that's what we're getting at. And I find that the creation of habits is a big one, and if you understand why you're doing something, you're more likely going to form a habit around it and feel the benefits because you're knowing what you should be expecting. Therefore, you will be more in tune with what you're doing. So I really think that's one of the bigger ones is habit formation and knowing why you're doing things. And I think that was a great question, but Maui kind of touched on a lot of points as well.
Yeah, no, listen,
James,
combine,
you,
yeah,
you
yeah,
like
yeah.
you like how we compliment each other so much? Do you like that? The alley oops? Do you like that?
The back and forth. This is beautiful. I was about to say it actually. The back and forth and not having to have the same answer, not to have anything rehearsed, but you play off one another, and I think that goes a long way in establishing whatever it is that you're trying to establish, or I think just being in this field and working with other human beings. The relatability piece is something that goes, again, that's not in a textbook. You're not going to learn about that in class. These are experiential pieces that you have both picked up on through not only school, but through your varied experience with Paul Paputsakis at the National Ballet, with the Ticats and the CFL, and seeing what that season is all about, going internationally, working with wheelchair athletes. All of this supports exactly what you're doing. And I think this is amazing. You combine on this project, and this is a living vehicle, right? This is not final. This is not hard and fast, and this is how it is. It's going to grow as it grows, is my understanding of it. Where do you see it going in terms of its development since you started? Plugging away and working through social media, obviously you both have clinical hours doing various things as well. How do you connect the two, I guess, Mahyar, and or do you?
Yeah, no, it's I mean, for us in terms of like where it goes, it's fluid, definitely. Like we kind of want to see where it takes us, but we have certain things that we kind of are working towards, and eventually, once we kind of keep going. One of the things that we kind of want to like kind of put a spotlight on is different populations and how that works, and because I feel like different populations, you enter a different world, and just like how the body moves. I mean, both Thomas and I got the opportunity to work with Paul, as you mentioned, with the ballet, and that it was such an experience. And I remember my first day, someone's like, "Yeah, my hamstring's a little tight." I'm like, "Okay, let me test your hamstring," and they were able to like bring their leg all the way to their. I'm like, all right, so I don't. Okay, cool. Like let's figure this out. So just like even those little things, I think it goes a long way, and I think there's a lot of populations that still need to get a lot more credit for what they're able to do with their bodies, and we definitely want to highlight that because that's huge for us. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the clinical aspect, I mean, there's so much. I'm always for changing what we've always had in terms of just come in the clinic. It's just a table. I want people to move when they're in the clinic. Constantly challenge them and kind of try to ease into it sometimes with certain people, right? Because of what they have in mind, but eventually get them to move, and that definitely is in my practice, and I'm trying to work on it even more.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, no, a great capture. I just love that this is going where it's going, and the fluidity of it, and creating it as it goes, and building it out while you're still, in your clinic. And Mahyar, are you back with Hamilton with the Ticats if the season is a go? Is that on the table?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're hoping, we're working with a number of CFL athletes currently, getting them prepped for, the season that is hanging in the balance. We hope for all of their sake and for your sake and the livelihoods of everybody involved with that league, that it can get going. So good luck with that one as well. And I know that takes up a large portion of time during the season. So the off season and these pieces as well. Thomas, the education piece we've touched on, the social media piece is an interesting one. And again, I think this is beautiful that you can share this platform and not be afraid that someone's going to take your idea, right? We had Mel and Kirsten on a few weeks ago from Island ACL, and it's solely a social media based platform. So if you haven't caught that one, I'd encourage you to go listen to that one as well, because there's some crossover here, and maybe you can work together and go back and forth, or who knows, or take their ideas, or they can take yours, or whatever the case may be. But again, this comes down to supporting from within. This is my goal with this platform here, Let's Chat, is to get people connected, to network, to continue to grow this profession, and the interconnectedness of this profession and other professions coming together and not worrying about territorial components of helping people get better. So where does this go in terms of social media? How do people access this, Thomas? And what is sort of the vision for, let's just look at access. How do people get this? And if whatever you're willing to sort of discuss at this point with the framework of things with Healing Kinetics.
Yeah, so access at the moment is pretty straightforward. Most of our activity is on Instagram. So that's what we're doing, most of our sharing, most of our exercises. And so at Healing Kinetics on Instagram is where you can find us. And what we are looking to do is build kind of a database of exercises. So that way, if we have a patient that's looking to do certain exercises, or we would like them to do certain exercises, we can send them directly to that page,
right,
and they can then go ahead and find the exercises. So that's why we've organized it in that fashion. So it's easier to find. We can just tell them, go to shoulder month and go to the mobility line, and then they will go ahead and find those exercises. And eventually we'd like to build enough exercises that we could maybe put together a solid database of social media, but we will still be sharing them on social media. So that is the goal with access, is to make it as accessible as possible and keep it accessible. And and then in terms of sharing ideas, I think that's the biggest thing. I don't think we're stealing anyone's ideas. I don't think anyone's stealing our ideas. I think it's making them accessible and sharing and bouncing ideas off people. So that's kind of where we're going with it, and putting pictures and recording sound over top of it. That was something new, and I find it's pretty interesting. Just have to make sure that people turn the sound on. But it's all new, and we're all learning process. But I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, so in describing where people can go and what to do, be sure to play audio and video. Don't just send them to video. I'm guilty of that as well, not hitting record on the microphone and then being like, okay, I gotta post this, and there it is, just a still shot or a video, but it's muted. So a beautiful thing, and again, love the fluidity of it and the ability to sort of navigate this as we go along. Again, this is session 77 of Let's Chat with Mahyar Dibaji and Thomas Nicholls, Healing Kinetics. That's Kinetics, precluded by healing, which I think everybody can spell that, but just in case, HealingKinetics on Instagram. A beautiful platform, some great captures on there, some great demonstrations, and I think it's the world we're living in too. I love this idea of seeing people in person and then sending them away with access to something, pre-recorded or not. You're creating this database as you go along through your experiences, working in clinics and continuing to navigate this. As an athletic therapist throughout your career, Mahyar, we'll just change gears just for a second here. We can always come back to Healing Kinetics again and talk on whatever pieces you guys want to highlight. But as an athletic therapist, you've had some roles that are really, really, they're prescribed, so to speak. You have clientele when you're with the ballet. You have clientele when you're with Wrestling Canada. You have clientele when you're with the Tiger Cats. You travel with them. They come to you. You don't need to generate clientele. There are some with the mindset that, I need to have clientele that have insurance. That's the only way I'm going to be able to make a living. Through your experience, and without leading you in one way or the other, as an athletic therapist, what are sort of the factors that encourage people to see you, the athletic therapist? I think this is always an interesting question, and don't feel challenged by it in any way that you don't want to. But speak to that a little bit, just the role and the profession itself.
Yeah, no, that's definitely something new, and I'm still it's very new to me when I'm working at Wishbone, and it's one of the things I always kind of try to get to know is usually they do try athletic therapy once they've gone through a lot of other practitioners or have tried a lot of different things. They're like, this is something new, I've never tried it. So I like the fact that it's something usually new, and I'm usually maybe they've seen, if they were an athlete before, they probably had an athletic therapist in college or in university. But something I try to look at is I usually look at, okay, what have they gone through? What was their experience through the healthcare, and what have they been assessed for? And kind of not only looking locally but globally. And I also look at more of them again. It sounds, I don't want to repeat, but it's like movement. And I think that's something new sometimes, like watching people and observing and assessing people through movement and not just on the table, especially when it comes to something chronic or something that's been dealt for. So when I take that global approach, I think a lot of times that goes a long way for people. And I always make it a point that they've learned something new once they leave, and I want to make sure. And if it's like an exercise, like, oh, I've already done that, it's like, okay, great. Where do you feel it, for example? And are you feeling it in the right spot, right spots, right muscles? What are the cues? And kind of my favorite things, or one of my favorite like comments is, oh, I didn't know I was supposed to feel it there. Oh, like I've been doing this. I didn't know. Oh, okay, cool. And and that I think just taking the time to make sure the patient has understood, I think that goes a long way. And again, as you mentioned, I'm all about the person, and I want to make sure they feel heard, and that's one of the biggest things. And I think when someone feels heard and is able to like share everything, I like to take my time. Sometimes I do go over my time, and I'm still trying to figure that out, the time management. But it's because I'm so invested in that conversation, and I'm okay sometimes to go over that time. But again, I think that goes a long way in knowing that you're being taken care of, and I that's one of my number one priorities, and I think that's what I think helps people come back, for me at least.
Yeah, absolutely. Some great captures, and the human first approach. You know, we've heard any number of these lessons, and again, wiser than your years are you, young Jedi. As we go along, you know, we've heard these messages from you know, Joe Kenny, the title of session 50 on this podcast. You know, listening is the greatest gift we can give, and hearing your patients and connecting with them goes such a long way. Thomas, just to change gears a little bit on that, the interdisciplinary approach is always something that I feel we do as a profession unmatched, let's say, in terms of non-territorial, in terms of being able to refer, knowing our scope of practice can be virtually anything with a human being who's in front of us, or equine, or whoever we specialize in working with. But is that something that you take pride in as well, as a therapist, that you can be in a room with a chiropractor, a physiotherapist, and sort of not break down the walls, but not have any barriers to entry in any of these conversations?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I think it comes down to our training as well, because when we're in school, we're placed with sports teams, and we know that sports teams typically have a pretty large team, medical team. And if we cannot help someone, there will be someone on that team that can help them. So it's kind of in our foundation as athletic therapists, is that we are trying to make the team better. Therefore, we will figure out who can make that person better if it's not us. So moving out to the private space, it kind of, that mentality shifts as well, but it still is, it's maintained. Like it's good to know where our strengths lie, and it's good to know where other people's strengths lie. And ultimately, we want to help the patient. And I think that as ATs, because that is part of our training, it is something that we bring to the private sector. And then it's not being selfish with the patient and trying to keep that patient. It really is knowing what they need and being able to assess what they need. Whether it's more intense strengthening with the S&C coach that's their specialty, or whether it is maybe psychology, because that's something that Maui and I like to talk about a lot, is the psychological approach to injury. And we are no experts, but we do happen to see those types of injuries and how they can affect people mentally, and really knowing when to refer them out and when to see the specialist, depending on what the issue is. And I find that goes a long way, and people will be thankful for that and will be happy to come see you or refer to you. And that's really how it grows, is honesty. So that's the biggest thing for me, is knowing how to help people and not being selfish or not being scared to refer out.
Absolutely magnificent, both of your responses. Making notes, taking notes, keeping notes, sharing notes, and getting this out there, I hope, through this podcast, those that are here live and those that are picking this up as we get it to podcast. You touched on the psychology piece, and it's a great segue for me. I just locked in a guest for July 4th, the first Sunday in July, a good friend and colleague, Mike Stroh, who was on when we did our The Shot You Don't Want to Take, our seminar on mental health back in, I believe it was October. We were talking yesterday or maybe earlier today, and again, coming back to sort of Christian Eriksen and this event that took place at Euro Cup, and seeing the impact not only of the athlete who is down on the field, but to those in the immediate surroundings. It didn't take much in the Leafs Canadian series to see what that injury did to every member of that team, staff included, partners, wives, family members watching on TV or in person. And I think that psychology piece is one, again, highlighted in the pandemic, of just how important the human is. And that human is not a body that doesn't function without a mind. And it's not a mind that doesn't function without a body, in whatever capacity. These are directly entangled. So just a nice little segue to touch on July 4th. We'll have Mike Stroh on, and that'll be whatever session that'll be by that point in time, but talking on some of those elements, because they were front and center to me. That's what jumped out to me, was having to be a barrier to the public by turning my back on my teammate and hearing what's happening behind me, and running over to the goalkeeper, ran over to his wife, and the coaching staff and the medical personnel as well. You know, when you respond to injury and life-threatening or otherwise, there's trauma associated with that, and how we cope and how we deal with that is being heard, Maui, as you touched on, and Thomas, honest and referring out, right, and to the right people for the person that needs it. And I think, again, human-centric care really starts with human first, and healing kinetics. Let's jump back in there, and wherever you want to take it, Mahyar, just tell us a little bit more about this, wherever really you want to go. We have a few more minutes here. I won't keep you too long. Again, really appreciate your sharing of this project, your creation of this project. The images, the examples, and everything that's up there currently looks top-notch, and is top-notch. So I'll open the floor to you both. No questions here. Just talk on whatever pieces you wish.
No, yeah, no, it's I mean, again, I think we covered a lot of, like, majority of the stuff for it, but no, I mean, just personally, I'm just so excited. I mean, I think I'm looking to see how far it will go, and the more people that are interested to get involved. I mean, like Thomas said, we're all about getting people involved with anything that we're doing, and you know, that's one of, again, in our list of things, is try to get as many people as involved as possible, not just as the consumer part. It's more as on part of, like, on our part, like, and helping us, whether that's just feedback or want to kind of be a part of the Healing Kinetic team. Like, it's I just it's not like we say, it's not we don't own anything. It's just, you know, it's there for everyone. And yeah, no, I'm just excited to see where it takes us, really.
Yeah, so I also want to thank our actress, because she's my significant other. My girlfriend is the one that is helping us, and she's a judo athlete, 5-time national championship competitor in France. So really happy, and that kind of brings it to people helping us, and we like to showcase people. And we have a friend that does the videography, and it's really bringing the community together and learning from people and teaching people, learning from them. And we would like to share that, eventually making connections with other sports teams in the area that maybe don't get much therapy attention, like dragon boats, for example, or rowing, or other types of sports that are not part of the big sports, and showcase what their training looks like, and maybe potentially down the road provide some some coverage or some student placements or something like that to kind of bring back to the community and help with in the sporting world and help keep them safe, because it is interesting to see how many teams go without medical staff or without people that are trained and do dangerous things. So that's kind of what we would like to do, is broaden and spread the knowledge a bit and be thankful throughout. So that's where
Absolutely.
we're going with it.
Absolutely, and a great capture. And I think just on that note, there are other places you can cut corners. The safety of athletes is not one of them. And so, again, if you're involved in sport as a parent, as a coach, the weekend courses are great, but the weekend courses also don't set up for success, like has been showcased by the people who are professionals in this, and there are plenty available. New students as athletic therapists, people just coming out, people who are currently students have coverage as first responders as well, through the Canadian Athletic Therapists Association countrywide here. And I think there's opportunity here to knock on doors with amateur sport and showcase using whatever, the video that we showed at the beginning of this, or making your own video and capturing just how critical this is. And it's not just about emergency care and the number of times that you have to use emergency care. If it's zero, it's still a win. You're banking on the assurance, the insurance, ensuring that athletes are cared for to the highest degree by hiring professionals and paying them a professional wage to do so, as a just in case. In this case, the just in case matters, and that's the encouragement through sort of National Athletic Therapy Month here in Canada, and with colleagues that I hope to work with on the future on projects like this, in getting this into the amateur space, and with people that are involved, such as yourselves at the national level. You have a voice. This is an opportunity to use that voice, and I truly, again, am grateful for having you both on here, for sharing your project, for seeing you again two-dimensionally. We'll aim for some further dimensions into the future, I hope. Maybe Thomas will head down to a Ticats game if there is one, and just pull out the signs. Yeah, pull out the signs of the, whatever it is on the sideline. So just a little bit of housekeeping, and then we'll wrap up, guys. Session 78 goes next week. We'll be back in this time slot, regular channel, live by Zoom. Podcasts, as always, come out Monday. Membership is available for athletic therapists in Canada countrywide at $10 a month, 0.4 CEUs weekly, simply for listening on your own time, and then just doing a quiz. Quizzes are made accessible through membership, and that's it. Probably the easiest and cheapest way to go about getting CEUs. That's shameless self-promotion, but also a reality. 78 will go next week with Nicholls Sullivan. She's an amazing physiotherapist. I have worked personally with her. She's the head therapist with beach volleyball, the beach volleyball program here in Canada. Session 79 will follow the week after with the newest head coach in Canada West, Aaron McElhanan, now the head coach of the UBC Thunderbirds women's basketball program. Session 80 will also happen, still undetermined, but it will happen in the month of June, we hope, with Drew Hutchison wrapping up our 4-part series, Tommy John and the education surrounding Tommy John surgery in baseball and the throwing athletes. This is session 77. Once again, Mahyar Dibaji and Thomas Nicholls, Healing Kinetics. Guys, I'm going to leave this to you. Please, if you're in Ontario, June 26th, it's the AMM. Make yourself aware. If you're not aware, go there and get aware. It's important. Keep learning, get informed, and grow. Thomas, Mahyar, thank you once again. Our live guests, or our live audience, thank you for being here. Our podcast, thanks for picking it up. I'm going to throw it to you guys to say goodnight, to wrap this up however you wish. Truly, thank you again. It's great to see you. I am humbled and grateful for your time to be any part of what you guys have created and continue to create. Thanks so much. Over to you guys.
Appreciate it, James. Thank you so much again. I mean, this is such a great platform, and again, the opportunity for us to get to just talk again with you was awesome. And yeah, looking forward to more and more of your podcast. So best of luck with everything.
Yeah, thank you, James. Same thing as Maui. Really appreciative of the platform and what you're putting together and what you keep growing. And I look forward to listening to the rest. I think I've listened to all your podcasts, and I'll keep listening. So it's a great thing on the drives, and really teaches us a lot. So we can learn a lot from this. And yeah, we'll stay in touch. I think it's really, really good.
Absolutely, guys, and appreciate you again coming on, and make sure you go back and listen to this one as well, because there's a lot to take notes on, even though you're the one saying it. A lot of value here, a lot of things to stand by, and an amazing relationship and platform and project that you've put together at Healing Kinetics on Instagram. This is session 77. Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast brought to you by First Star Therapy, Mobility Tape, Epic, Benchmark Athletics, in association with the Canadian Athletic Therapists Association. Session 78 goes next week. Thanks again, and good night. Thanks again for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of this community. Check us out online, firststartherapy.com. That's FIRSTAR therapy.com. Or email us with feedback, consult@firststartherapy.com. CONSULT@firststartherapy.com. On Instagram @firststar.therapy, and our podcast host @letschat.at. This is First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast.